A voice actor's most precious and priceless instrument is their voice. And if you're sitting down in front of a microphone, not giving one thought to properly preparing your vocal cords to go to work, you are setting yourself up for eventual failure. So in today's video, I'll give you 3 ways you can add easy voice prep to your voiceover routine. And this video is month 2 of the Voiceover Growth Challenge, a year-long series designed to help aspiring and beginner voice actors build confidence, consistency, and real momentum 1 month at a time. I was blown away by how many of you committed to this challenge in month 1. So keep it coming. Let me know, drop a comment to say, I'm in for month 2. And hey, use the comments to encourage each other, cheer each other on, let us know your wins, your challenges, all of those kinds of things. Last month, the focus was showing up and starting smart. This month, we are focusing on how you show up and how you treat your voice while you're doing it. Because your voice and how it sounds isn't just a skill, it's a physical instrument. And one of the biggest mistakes I see beginners make, and honestly sometimes even professionals, is pushing their voice without first learning how to support it, assist it, and train it. Now, this month's challenge, I'm not talking about advice like how to avoid damage or doing extreme things with your voice. Those should be obvious no-nos if you're serious about using your voice professionally. And I'm also not talking today or this month about vocal health, which is how to take care of your voice, although I will be doing a video soon on the do's and don'ts of professional vocal care, which will be a great follow-up to this video. So be sure you're subscribed to the channel so that you don't miss that. So let's get to challenge number 1, which is to build a short daily warm-up routine. You started to do this last month by building a routine of sitting down to focus on doing something related to voiceover for a few minutes once a week. So now we're turning that into a consistent habit. So this month, I want you to create a 5 to 10 minute warm-up routine and use it at least 4 days per week. Now remember, warm-ups aren't about sounding impressive. They're just about gently waking up the muscles and the structures that you're about to use, the same way you would stretch before you went for a walk or a run. A short and repeatable daily vocal warm-up routine reduces strain, it builds confidence, and it makes showing up to the microphone feel a lot less intimidating. You know, for me, for example, my workday typically begins about an hour before I ever turn my microphone on. Why? Well, because if you've ever tried to record your voice before you've actually woken up your voice, you'll know that it typically sounds deeper and froggier and more crackly or with more vocal fry. And 99% of the time, that is not what you want in your recording. So doing a simple 10-minute daily warm-up really does a couple of things for me, actually. It physically warms up my throat, vocal cords, tongue, jaw, lips, etc., all of this, so that your voice is ready to sound spot on in your very first take. However, it also really mentally gets me ready to work. Those few minutes of vocal warm-up become a signal to your brain that we're now in work mode. And so when that happens, you'll notice your posture changes, your approach to your script copy changes and gets either more professional or more into character if that's the type of session that you're about to do. And it gets you ready to tackle another day of being a freelance voice actor. It kind of just puts you right in the zone by starting with that one really familiar routine. Now, consistency on this matters a lot more than complexity, and at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a solid sample warm-up routine that you can use every single day, so stick around for that. But first, let's get to challenge number 2 for this month. That's where I want you to notice tension and vocal fatigue patterns. Once you start actively using your voice regularly as a professional, even if you're just a beginner, you'll start noticing and paying attention to how your voice feels, not just how it sounds. So that's going to include jaw, neck, back, and shoulder tension. It's going to include shallow breathing or really pushing to get a full sentence out before you run out of breath. It's going to feel like things like pushing your voice for volume or clarity or endurance, where your throat starts to get a bit raw and your voice starts to give out a little bit. Most people don't even realize they're tense until their voice gets tired or uncomfortable, and by then it's almost too late to fix it for that day or that moment. So this challenge isn't about fixing all of those things that I just mentioned. It is about becoming more aware, because you can't support your voice and give it what it needs if you don't recognize what it needs. So for this month, anytime you feel tension, soreness, insufficient breathing, etc., I want you to stop what you're doing and write down exactly what you're feeling and write down what you are currently doing or working on. And once a week, I want you to go back and review that list and see if you notice any patterns that are coming out that you can address. Are you noticing that you're constantly running out of breath before the ends of sentences or passages? Well, that probably means that you'll need to start working on breath expansion exercises. Do you feel like you are starting to get a raw, sore throat quite frequently after you've been reading for maybe 10, 15, or 20 minutes? Well, that sounds like you're either pushing your voice too loudly or you just simply haven't built up the endurance yet. New teachers run into this all of the time. Brand new, fresh out of college teachers who aren't used to actually speaking at a projected level for an entire day, they will lose their voice in the first week of classes because they haven't built up the endurance in the muscles in their throat and jaw and mouth to do that all day, every day. So look for patterns, and that's what you're focusing on in Challenge 2. A great way for you to keep track of those patterns, by the way, I'm happy to say I now have a brand new Mastering the Microphone composition notebook, 8.5 by 11, 100 pages of college ruled paper with a little cute little microphone down there in the corner. This is just a great simple notebook that you can dedicate to your voiceover journey, profession, ideas, goals, or writing down your patterns of tension and fatigue in your voice. This is available for just under $10 on Amazon right now. I'll leave a link to this down in the description. Okay, challenge number 3 this month is you want to build your articulation skills. Clear articulation does not come from over-enunciating or forcing your mouth to work harder. You can imagine how tiring that would be if you were doing that all the time. Good articulation comes from small, precise movements of the lips, the tongue, and the jaw with as little extra tension as possible. A lot of beginners either mumble, or they run their words together, or they get lazy on some of their consonants or syllables because they're under-articulating. Or sometimes they overdo it and they're trying to make the sound so big and kind of crossing the line of stage acting, which you don't need to be so big when you've got the microphone right in front of you. And that overdoing it can create jaw and facial tension, and neither of those things helps your voice. So at least 3 times this month, I want you to spend anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes on articulation work. That's going to be things like gentle lip trills or lip buzzes. You have to start loosening up the muscles in and around your lips and your mouth so that they can properly form all of your consonants and vowels. Articulation work is also great for tongue twisters. It's a great way to work on your articulation. And working on consonant precision. In fact, do you see what I just did there to say that? Because the word consonant can sometimes run together. So in order to be sure I was precise in explaining that to you, I stopped, and you can physically see that my mouth consonant precision. I wanted to be very articulate in saying that. Those are things you want to work on. Now, your articulation exercises, you can do that as part of your warm-up or immediately after your warm up, or you can just do them as a separate exercise that you want to do a few times a month. What I want you to do when you're working on articulation is pay attention to where it feels like it takes more effort. Those are obviously the places then you're going to want to target working on. I want you to focus on whether your jaw stays loose. You do not want to tense up in here. It's going to make everything tired, and it's going to completely condense and clamp down on your sound, which is not good. And I want you to pay attention how your clarity starts to improve without pushing yourself to improve. The more that you work on articulation, the easier the articulation is going to come, and you're going to notice that in your reading. So this challenge really helps you speak more clearly without having to work harder, which is a key vocal health skill. And stick around because I have some articulation work that you can do at the end of this video. Now, if you're already signed up for the absolutely free email club that goes along with this year-long Voiceover Growth Challenge, you are soon going to receive the month 2 materials to download and print, which will include space for you to track your habits, notice patterns, reflect on what's working for your voice. But don't worry, if you haven't yet joined, it is not too late. It's absolutely free. Just click the link down in the description, and you'll be so glad that you have the additional printable materials to go along with each month's set of challenges. Now remember, every month of this challenge is all about locking small, repeatable, buildable habits into place to form a really solid and supportive foundation for your voiceover career. Your voice doesn't need to be strained or pushed to grow and enhance your sound and skills. It just needs the proper support. Now, next month, the challenge focus turns to your home recording studio setup and optimizing what you have to work with. Stay tuned for that. But until then, if you want a simple, beginner-friendly warm-up routine to pair with this month's challenge, watch my daily vocal warm-ups video or tackle your articulation skills with this video over here. Save both of them to a private playlist so that you can come back to them whenever you need to exercise your voice.